Okay, so let's start a new lesson on fractions. You may have done this one last year, but we'll do some more about improper fractions. I really like this kid, because he really seems to be thinking hard. Alright, so let's do improper fractions. Okay, let's consider this hexagon, and that's one whole because it's all colored up. Okay, and let's consider the same hexagon and divide it into six equal parts. Okay, so this hexagon is divided into 6 parts, such that the denominator, if we get the fraction of each part, since it's divided into 6, so therefore in all of the 6 parts are colored, so this is represented by 6 over 6. Okay, what about if we have one whole hexagon, okay, and a fraction of that hexagon? So you can see the first hexagon is all colored up, and the second one is just a fraction of it. Okay, as you can see, if we count all the parts, on the first hexagon there are 6 parts that are colored. On the second hexagon, there are only 5 parts that are colored. So if you add up 6 and 5, all in all, you have 11 over 6, or 11 parts that's colored, and each part is divided into 6 parts. So this is how we represent a figure like this into a fraction. Okay, so let's use that same example. Okay, let's consider the figure above. How do we really write improper fraction out of that? Okay, for your denominator, you have to count how many parts one whole is divided into. Okay, so let's consider one of these two hexagons. As you can see, they are divided into 6 parts, right? So therefore, that will be your denominator. Okay, so you just have to look at one whole and see how many parts is divided. That is always your denominator. And how about the numerator? Well, after you have counted how many parts is one whole divided into, you count all the parts that are colored. And if you count all the parts that are colored here, you'll find out that there are 11 parts. So therefore, that is your numerator. So the improper fraction that represents this figure is 11 over 6. Okay, so let's consider this one whole bar. So this is one whole. And let's divide it into 3 equal parts. So one part would be 1/3. Okay. And so let's consider that 1/3. We'll be talking about that now. So every unit will be based on that. So 1/3 now is what we call our unit fraction. Okay. So this second bar in here is just also 1/3, because it's the same size. Okay, and what if we have 2 of those? So that's like 1/3 plus 1/3. And as you can see, there are 2/3. 2 of 1/3, and that is 2/3. Okay, what about if we have 1? Okay, 1/3, another 1/3, and we add it with another 1/3, and we add it with another 1/3. Okay, so there are 3 of them, and so if you count on that, you'll see that there are 3/3. And how do we write that in a simplified form? That will be 3/3. So 3/3, as you can see, the numerator and denominator are the same. This is considered as an improper fraction. When you say an improper fraction, the numerator and denominator can be the same, or the numerator can be more than the denominator. Let's try another one. So that's 1/3. And we add another one, and we add another one, and there are 4, and there are 5. So how do we write this one in fraction form? Since there are 5/3, so we write it as 5 over 3. Okay. Alright, let's consider this figure, which is half of a circle. Okay. And we have these other figures below. Our half of the circle will be our unit fraction, and another half. So these things that are revolving now, that is 3 holes or 3 circles, right? And the last one would just be half a circle. So if you write this one from our previous lesson, if you write this figure in a fraction form, this would be a mixed number, which is 3 holes and 1 half. Okay. Now the question is, how many halves are there in 3 1/2? How many halves? What are halves? Halves are are what are halves? Okay, halves means one half. Okay, so the question is how many one half are there in the figure above? So let's count. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So therefore there are 7 halves. And if you write that as an improper fraction, you have 7 halves, which is equal to 3 and a half. Okay, the 7 halves is equal to 7 over 2 and also equal to 3 and a half. So you can see 3 and a half is from our previous lesson mixed number, and 7 halves is an improper fraction. So this is a little bit of an introduction to our lesson for tomorrow, which is how to change mixed number into improper fraction and vice versa. Okay.